On Tarbox Street in Encanto sits a small home with a big backyard. A yellow sign hangs on the fence. Encanto says no. Rebecca Batista lives next door.
My husband had noticed that there was some movement happening on the property, so he decided to look for the permits, and he'll tell you himself that he nearly fell to the floor.
43 new homes are planned for a yard smaller than half a football field. That's more homes than the rest of the street combined. Lisa and Eric Becerra live next to Batista. They spread word to neighbors.
They're like, no, we're not zoned for that. And then I'll send them the plans, and they're like, are you kidding me? Oh, my God.
They had no idea how this could happen without public notice, without a public hearing, without it adhering to a community plan.
That's by design. ADUs don't have to do any of that. It's part of what makes them cheaper and faster to build. California hopes to entice developers to build more housing. It allows 2 ADUs on each lot. Usually, they're what you might call granny flats. But San Diego took it further. In 2020, they said you can have 2 more, as long as one of them is priced affordably. And if your lot is within a walking mile of a major public transit stop, there's no limit, resulting in some proposed projects with more than 100 units on a single lot, what some call granny towers. Those are rare. In most parts of San Diego, the typical project is about 4 units. In Encanto, it's about 10. Batista.
We started peeling the onion to realize that it wasn't just this lot next to ours, but upwards of like 10 to 12 properties that we know about that are using the same bonus ADU loophole.
The Encanto area makes sense for developers. Larger lot sizes for less money than other neighborhoods. It used to be redlined. Today, neighbors are mostly Black and Latino and low income. Batista isn't opposed to more housing, say 6 more homes on this lot, but 43 more has her worried. Under state law, ADU developers don't have to provide parking. On Tarbox Street, it's hard to imagine where more cars would go. The road isn't maintained by the city. It's riddled with potholes. There are no sidewalks or storm drains, only 2 streetlights. Overgrown trees and parked cars jet into the road. Eric Becerra.
How are they trying to pass this type of building structure when they can't even help us with what we need?
An early academic assessment of the program cautioned San Diego about the pattern of larger ADU projects proposed in the Encanto area. Quote, the city may not want to see such a high concentration of units in areas that have historically absorbed more than their fair share of housing development. Co-author Jake Wegman.
That sometimes results in a feeling among people living in those areas of, hey, we're getting all the development, and then meanwhile people in La Jolla or more affluent areas haven't had to have the same kind of development that we have.
California ADU developers don't have to pay impact fees or conduct environmental reviews. And Encanto is disproportionately affected by environmental burdens and health risks. It's also at a high risk for fires. Unlike apartments, ADUs don't have to have sprinklers. More concrete instead of grassy lots also means more water runoff. The neighborhood flooded last January. Wegman called the infrastructure problem a chicken and egg dynamic.
Sometimes people will say, well, we shouldn't build any more housing in this area because the infrastructure can't handle it, right? And then on the other hand, sometimes you hear, well, why would we add infrastructure to this neighborhood? Because there aren't enough people there to justify it.
Neighbor Lisa Becerra asks,
So what are these people supposed to do until it catches up?
About 50 neighbors have begun to organize. They created a petition this month that has over 500 signatures. They said they would consider legal action. Rebecca Batista.
This has turned us into activists, and it's been really beautiful bringing our community together for something that we all believe in. We know how special Encanto is.
I set out with her family toward the closest major public transit stop. It's supposed to be a mile away at most, but Google Maps says it's a little more. With no sidewalk, we're forced to walk in the road. The wheels of their double stroller and her daughter's scooter bump hard over potholes. We pass a smaller bus stop with no shade. An elderly neighbor's chair sits on the grassy incline, empty. Batista tells me she just sold her property to a developer. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.